Welcome to Focus on Abilities, a program about issues affecting the lives of people with disabilities. I'll be your host for today's program. My name is Lex Frieden. I'm professor of biomedical informatics and rehabilitation at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. I also direct the Independent Living Research Program at Tier Memorial Hermann. Today we have a very interesting guest. I'm eager to introduce him to you, and I'll do that right after we take a short break. So please stay tuned.
The following program is sponsored by ILRU, Southwest ADA Center, promoting compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Welcome to Focus on Abilities. I'm Lex Frieden, and we've got a guest today that's going to blow your mind. My friend Cedric Bryant is with us. Cedric, welcome to Focus on Abilities.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
You have a lot of experience in the Houston area. You live in Humble, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Have you been there a long time?
I've been there about the last 5-6 years.
And you have become a good advocate for people with disabilities. Is that driven by your own motivation, by your, what has led you to be an advocate?
Well, first and foremost, me becoming injured at the age of 17. So it was a different experience for me, so I had to learn how to speak up for myself. That was always my core with my mother, was speaking for myself. Yeah, sometimes people, when they talk to you, they talk to other people around you. They don't never speak to me, so I will always want to speak up for myself.
So at 17 years old, you broke your neck?
No, I was actually shot.
And I want to look into that a little bit. You were in high school at that time?
Yes, I was. I was in high school.
What school?
I was going to Jack Yates High School.
Yates. Were you an athlete there? Or you?
No, I wasn't an athlete in high school. I played a little baseball, but I was working. I had a job, so I never got to actually play in the game. I just was on a practice team.
So you were working when you weren't going to school?
Yes, I worked at Kroger.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, sir.
What was your job there?
Well, I started off sacking groceries, then I made it become a cashier, then a supervisor. By the time I was 16 years old, I started at 15.
That's amazing.
Right.
You're a good example for a lot of young people. But then you got involved in a group that resulted in you getting hurt, right?
Yes, sir.
How'd that happen?
Walking home from school, I was in summer school, so me and a friend decided to go home. We wanted to eat at my house. So on the way home, we was approached by a guy who was trying to rob a guy. And I guess I got caught in a deer in the headlights. I saw a gun, and they said I turned to run, and it went off and hit me in my neck. But the crazy part, I have no memory of that day. I just remember waking up in the hospital.
So how do you know what happened?
I'm just going off what they told me, what the guy told me.
Wow, what your pal told you?
It was my pal.
He wasn't hurt at all?
No, he wasn't hurt at all. He ran all the way to my house. He thought I was behind him the whole time. He looked back, he said I wasn't there, so he come back to the scene. I was on the ground and the ambulance was loading me up.
Wow. So the bad guy was robbing another person?
Yes, sir.
And he saw you and got nervous and shot you?
No, he tried to get us to help him.
Oh, he wanted to enlist you?
Yes, he wanted to enlist me and him.
Wow. And you didn't want to do it?
No.
So he shot you?
They said they were fighting over a gun, so I don't know what happened.
I mean, you might have tried to get his gun, or the other guy when he was being robbed?
Probably, I will hope so. Not.
Well, I mean, it's not fair for me to ask you the question since you already said you don't remember, right?
Right.
And the next thing you wake up in the emergency department or in the
ICU?
In the ICU. So
yeah.
You went all through picking you up on the ambulance, all the way back in the emergency department, putting you in the ICU, and you wake up and wonder why you're there, right?
Right. Can't move, can't talk, nothing, and people just staring at me.
Wow.
It was,
Which ICU was that?
I was in Bentall.
Wow. So then you're asking what happened to you. Nobody could tell you.
At first, like I said, I could not talk, but my mother did eventually break the news to me that I was shot and paralyzed. And she kept asking me, did I remember what happened? I just shook my head. That was my only way to communicate, was shaking my head or clicking my tongue to try to get someone's attention, since I had no way to talk.
So when did you figure out any other ways to communicate?
Just, they would give me a board with different alphabets, but I would get frustrated because you have to go through every alphabet just to say, oh, I need some water, I want some water. Then they say, no, you can't have water.
Wow. How long were you in the hospital there?
I could say I was in the hospital about maybe a week or two. Then I was transferred to Tier Memorial Herman.
So what year was that?
That was in June of 2009. So I went there about July, early July.
Wow. And once you got there, things changed? They get more active, or what
Yes,
happened?
I became more active. I was actually getting taken out the bed, put into a wheelchair, going to occupational therapy, physical therapy. Still not able to talk yet because I had got a surgery and got a tracheectomy. So I had a trach and it was inflated, so I could not talk at all still. They wanted to make sure all the oxygen is going through my lungs.
How were they communicating with you?
I still shake my head. I can barely, if you could read my lips. People got good at reading lips.
Wow.
Yes.
Your mom stay with you all the time?
All the time. She visits me every day.
That's a lesson there.
Oh, yes.
That's a beautiful lesson. So when you were at the hospital at Tier, how long were you there?
About a month.
And when did they remove the trach?
They removed the trach about halfway through my stay.
And then you felt better because you could start.
The first day, no, I had a panic attack. It was so weird. I could feel the oxygen going around the hole in my neck, and now I could talk, but I was not happy at all. It was scary, but I had to get used to it.
Wow. Wow. You meet other people while you were at Tier, other
Plenty.
patients?
Yes, plenty. We had to do like group therapy with each other. So you would have occupational therapy, physical therapy, and group therapy. So yes, I met a lot of people.
And your question was probably while you were there, what am I going to do now, right?
Right. What am I going to do?
Who answered that question?
Really, the therapists help answer the question. The doctors, when you really look at what they tell you with medicine, they're like, oh, you're never going to do this for the rest of your life. But I can tell you this, they told me I'll never breathe on my own, and that's not, we're looking here, we're doing today, I have no vent.
Yeah.
So
they took the trach out before you left?
Yeah, no, they didn't take it out. They took me, I still went home on the vent. They just changed the trach where instead of it being inflated, I now can be able to talk a deflated trach.
Wow. So then you're at home. Were you in bed most of the time after you went to home?
No, I never like really being in the bed. I like getting up in my wheelchair every day. So I'll be in my wheelchair, then at night I'll get in the bed when it came to me having nurses and things like that.
Wow. So you had evidently insurance.
Yes, I did.
When you went to the hospital.
Yes, I did.
Through your job at Kroger?
No, I wasn't working at that time. I had lost my job earlier that year. So I had what they call traditional Medicaid through my mother, her job, CHIPS, the CHIP program.
Wow. Well, that was fortuitous.
Yes.
A lot of people get hurt. They don't have that kind of support.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to talk with you about what you're doing now, but we'll do that right after we take a break here.
Okay.
And you all stay tuned for more Focus on Abilities.
Houston 311, now available as a mobile app. Take a photo, enter your location, report an issue. The quick and easy way to report non-emergency issues or request city service information. Download today on the App Store or Google Play.
When your goal is to save time and money, book online with EcoPark and EcoPark 2. Now that's a smart game plan. Travel smarter, park smarter. EcoPark and EcoPark 2 at IAH.
Welcome back to Focus on Abilities. I'm glad you tuned in today. Our guest is Cedric Bryant, and we're talking about Cedric's experience following spinal cord injury in 2009. Cedric, it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
And since then, you've had a lot of opportunity to learn about what you're able to do and think about what you want to accomplish and so on.
Right.
In that process, it sounds to me like your mom has been a significant influence in your life.
Yes, she was. She was very motivational. She never let me doubt myself. Even when I was going through the 5 stages of grief, she never let me be down a lot. She kept me motivated spiritually, even when I didn't believe in my own self.
What kind of lessons did she teach you?
She taught me one lesson that I always remember, and I repeat this every day, is the never give up 1 minute before the miracle. Sometimes I'll be wanting to doubt myself and give up, but then if you just hold on a little bit, you never know what will happen, what can change. And I've been experiencing that every day.
That's beautiful. So besides your mom, who else do you credit for your rehabilitation, for your current outlook, for the opportunities that you now have?
Other than my mother, I have my father, I have my Aunt Marlene, my grandfather, relatives, my brother, and friend. I have created good friends throughout these 15 years. June 30th will make 15 years of me being injured.
Yeah.
It's like I almost died, came back, and being reborn again.
I hear people say that, and that to some extent was my experience. Cedric, what about the guy that you were hooked up with there that was with you when the accident occurred?
Unfortunately, a year or two ago, he passed away. And what's sad is he actually got shot himself and was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
But he couldn't, cope with that.
That's true. Some people have more difficulty than others. Obviously, he didn't have the kind of support that you did. I mean, maybe that was part of the issue. Some of us are wired differently than others.
Yes.
We're doing some research right now and learning about people who've had different diseases. And we find that some of them can cope with the idea that they're going to have a disability following their recovery, and some of them have much more difficulty.
Right.
And I guess that's true of the people that you've met with spinal cord injuries.
Yes. You really have to have a good foundation around you without just yourself. Like I say, it takes a village to raise a child. And with me, I learned that when I was in school, about Darwin's theory, the survival of the fittest fit is being good enough to reproduce. So if you got to survive, either you adapt or you die out. I'm not ready to die out, so I'm ready to adapt.
And one of the groups you're involved with now is the Spinal Cord Injury Association?
Yes, the United Spinal Cord Injury Association of Houston. When
did you get connected with them?
I got connected with them maybe probably 2012, 2013, doing outpatient therapy. I met a guy named Rafferty, and I joined the group.
So you met Rafferty Laredo.
Yes.
When you were in Tier doing outpatient therapy.
Yeah, I actually saw him inpatient, but I wasn't a client of his, but I met him outpatient through my therapist, Amber.
And he told you about the group.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's watching the program, they're interested in that group, how do they get hooked up with it?
Well, you can search their website online. It's free to join. And you can go to United Spinal Cord Association and go to your local chapter. So it's free to join. They have a Facebook group, Gallery 1, and they tell you monthly what's going to happen You just, join and get involved with them.
One of the programs I know you've been involved with is the one we have at TIER called the Mentorship Program for Disability Advocacy. You've just recently finished that program. Has that given you any additional perspective on your disability, what you
Yes.
can do?
Yes, it has. It made me want to become an advocate. I actually like that avenue, speaking for people that do not have a voice, because at one time I was just like that.
And now you're going to use your own energy, your knowledge, your experience to speak on behalf of others and encourage them to speak for themselves.
Right. And to never give up hope at all. I mean, everybody don't believe in the same God. You might not, but you still shouldn't give up. I believe nobody should give up. You never know what could happen.
Yeah. And always have a goal, right?
Right.
What's your present goal?
My present goal is advocacy, and also I would love to get into motivational speaking.
What?
Okay.
How you have a plan about how you would approach that?
Right now I'm in Toastmasters, so I'm learning to articulate my speech better. And what we have in Toastmasters, we have a segment called Table Topics. They can throw you any topic, anything, and you got to be on your feet ready to talk about it. Just impromptu, and that really helps me.
Yeah. Makes you think before you speak, but
Right.
it also makes you think fast, right?
Right, you have to, because you got to speak about 1 to 2 minutes.
How many people are with you in that group?
It's about 8 or 9 of us. We meet weekly every Tuesday around 6:45.
Where's that meeting?
We're on Zoom.
Oh,
They make it
that's-
easy for you. We're on Zoom, but we're going to start meeting in person.
Tell me about Zoom. What did your experience with Zoom start like mine, mostly after COVID?
Yes, actually did. Actually did, with doctor's appointments, with therapeutic groups, because I'm a member of another group with RSA, and it's about gunshot survivals, people that experience spinal cord injuries that got shot. And we meet daily. We talk all night, but we've started off meeting once a month, then once a week, then it's daily. So I counsel people there too.
So this is a Zoom site
Yes.
that you can just dial into.
Yes, you click on the link and
How do you get, if somebody wants to touch base and check in, they have to get approval from the group master or anything like
no,
that?
right now they go on Facebook to spinal cord support groups, and they tell others to join. They send the Zoom link. But I joined them through the United Spinal. I just was happening to look up different support groups, and I found one based in Rochester, but I emailed the guy like, hey, I'm not in Rochester, but I do have a gun injury that it resulted in a spinal cord injury. And he told me to go ahead and join. So now, since joining that group, we have people not just in Rochester, we have Texas, we have Florida, we have even one lady in the UK.
Wow.
So
You must enjoy hearing other people's stories and being able to give them some support in the process.
yes, I really do. And it also makes me humble, because a lot like the women in our group, they were injured with domestic violence. And some of the guys, that everybody else has memory of them getting injured. I have no memory, but it still makes me more humble and appreciative, because I can complain about what's going on in my life, but it's people out there that can be worse than me and still living and coping with their selves and carrying on. So we uplift each other.
Yeah, well, you and I have shared some experiences in that regard. I was pretty depressed after I left the hospital. I had a real positive view. But a few months later, I applied to go to college, and the college turned me down. And when I asked them why, they told me it's because I used a wheelchair. And I thought, wow, I'm gonna have to live with that every time I try to do something. Fortunately, I found another college that had a whole different idea about that. And after that, I kind of got over my depression and started looking forward to the next day.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Cedric, we're going to take a break here.
Okay.
But before we do, I want to ask a question, and that's for the audience. Does the Americans with Disabilities Act require access to transportation? Don't answer yet. Hang on, we're going to let the audience figure it out, and we'll answer it before the end of the show, okay?
Okay.
All right. You all stay tuned. We'll be back shortly to more Focus on Abilities.
We could start by telling you how sleek it is, how it's at the edge of innovation in its industry, that it makes connections faster and more convenient. We could promote the fact that even traffic signals give it the green light, and that it moves so quickly we had to give it its own lane. Or you could just ride. Discover where this rail-like ride is going next. Visit ridemetro.org/MetroNext.
In Houston, we make tomorrow together.
But first, we make dinner together. We mix ingredients and cultures. We create excitement that you can taste.
And experiences to savor.
Join us in Houston.
Let's make tomorrow together.
Welcome back to Focus on Abilities. Cedric Bryant is our guest here today. I'm Lex Frieden, and we're talking about what happens after a person becomes disabled, how they can cope, and also what motivates Cedric to go forward every day. Cedric, you talk about your desire to be a motivational speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably affect a lot of folks. It's a hard job because you have to evaluate your audience and speak to the audience and know what they want to hear a little bit, and then give them a few things to think about. So I know you're going to be great at that.
Thank you.
Also, in your advocacy, you have, I know, worked on transportation advocacy, and you tell us your story about trying to get on MetroLift.
Okay, well, since being injured since 2009, I've been riding MetroLift. I rode it to school some days, rode it to college, and especially I used it a lot in college when I went to the University of Houston and I went to HCC. So I noticed they have little quarrels like about timing. You might miss your appointments because time is a shared ride service, which is understandable. But also with transportation, I've learned that it's throughout the city of Houston, it's bumpy, period. So with my assignment with the program, I was talking about access to sidewalks and MetroLift not coming into my neighborhood of Humble, Texas, which I live in the Tesla Cedar Forest in Humble, Texas with. So I first contacted the Homeowners Association, but they told me it wasn't them. So I contacted the City of Humble. They told me it wasn't them. Went to the county. So I finally was able to get in contact with someone with the county who told me that they had the funds and they appreciated me for bringing it to their attention. So that was part of the program.
So the county then provides you with some transportation.
No, actually, they didn't provide me with transportation. They provided me with an avenue to fix my problem with the sidewalk. But with transportation, I have a handicapped van myself. But, it might break down. Anything can happen. So MetroLift is an option. But with MetroLift, where I'm at, I would have to use the sidewalk to go to the local Walgreens.
Oh, okay.
So I don't live in the zone.
So the issue is the zone.
Right.
And that leads us to the question that we asked there in the prior segment. Does the ADA cover transportation?
It should. It's part of the ADA. It's a city service, so yes.
So, and in the ADA, the law says that public transportation must be accessible to the public. But those big buses that constitute public transportation in our city and most other cities, there is an alternate service method called, we call it MetroLift, but they're the vans that go door to door to pick people up. And they pick people up in a neighborhood and then drop them off at the various places where they need to go. But in Houston, like other cities, the law says those complementary services have to have to be in the same zone as the big buses. And in a few exceptional cases, Metro has extended the zone to places where in the future the big buses will probably already go, also go. But the problem is for people who live right outside the zone. And in your case, the zone ends, what, half a mile from your home at,
Yes, about half a
at the
mile.
Walgreens, right?
Yes.
And you couldn't get to the Walgreens to catch your ride because the sidewalks
Yeah, the
were
sidewalk.
messed up. And I wonder how often that happens. In your case, your objective was to get to the Walgreens safely, and without the sidewalks, you couldn't do that.
Not at all.
Metro didn't have the responsibility of fixing the sidewalks.
Right.
The Community Homeowners Association claimed they didn't.
True.
The city said they didn't, and finally the county did. And did they fix all the sidewalks all the way from your home to the Walgreens?
Not yet. They told me in phase 3 of the year they're gonna start. He sent me an email with the location and it's highlighted in red where they're gonna start fixing it at. And that's Harris County Precinct 3, Mr. Brandon Hicks.
So well, you have to believe it if you got it in writing, right?
Right.
So we'll be checking in with you to see how you do with your sidewalk repair. I think sidewalks are an issue for a lot of people in Houston. If people call 311 and report their sidewalks that don't work, if they use a wheelchair, whatever, they should say that. And I think the city has done a pretty good job with the Office on Disability of reaching out and helping to solve some of those problems.
Yes.
Your advocacy then will extend to sidewalks for everybody, right?
Right, eventually. Yes, and then also fixing the humps. With me riding in my van, I'm at the back, I could feel every bump. And I remember our mayor saying that was his goal, was to talk about fixing the bumps in the city. I have yet to see that.
Yeah, I got to say that I was riding in a vehicle, one of those accessible taxis one day, and it hit the bump so hard it broke the wheel off the wheelchair.
Wow.
And I wonder what damage it did in my spine.
Right.
So these are truly issues that we don't have really good shock absorbers on our wheelchairs.
No.
So you hope they have them good on the vehicles. Right. And by the way, I rode in some new vans, Metrolift vans, 1300 series. They got the greatest shocks.
Oh, yes.
So look for that number when they pick you up. Cedric, any last thoughts you want to leave our audience with?
I just would like to speak to anybody that may be going through something, because like with me, I went through a stage of independence to a stage of a point where now you have to depend on others. It's hard. You got to get used to it. You got to accept, people helping you. So don't give up on your life. There's plenty of things you can do. You can move mountains with your mind.
If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
They can reach me on Facebook, Cedric Bryant. I think Cedric Bryant. On Instagram is YUNG CED713, Young Said 713. And same thing on TikTok. So you can reach me on all 3 of those social media sites.
You're all over social media.
Oh, yes.
I'll be looking for your podcast next.
Oh, yes. That's something in the works.
Okay, very good. I want to thank you, Cedric, for being our guest today on Focus on Abilities, and we'll have you back another time to tell us how you're proceeding.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank all of you for watching Focus on Abilities. If it weren't for you watching, we wouldn't be making the program. So it's nice to hear from you from time to time. I want to thank HTV and all the producers, directors, cameramen, the staff, everybody that helps to put this show and every other HTV show on the air. I'm Lex Frieden. I wish you a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Focus on Abilities.